Chapter 1. Nina huffed as she plopped down on a booth seat next to the window at the Pancake House so she'd be able to observe pedestrians as they moved along Chicago's Rush Street. She was slightly irritated from the traffic jam she had encountered on Lakeshore Drive. Normally, the Sunday morning drive to her favorite breakfast spot was a pleasant experience, but the police had blocked off the streets for a walkathon taking place that day. A short, slender, handsome young waiter, dressed in a white uniform, topped off with a flimsy white cap shaped like a submarine, set a glass of ice water in front of her. "Hello, may I get you something to drink?" "I'll have a raspberry iced tea," she replied, gazing up from the menu as he scribbled down her request. "May I have another moment to look over the menu?" she requested, knowing that this type of delay would allow her best friend Rose a little more time to get her perpetually late behind there. Nina never understood why she even bothered being on time when she knew damn well Rose was the type of sister who'd be late for her own funeral. For the 20-plus years she had known her, Rose was always rushing to do some last-minute thing, which she always claimed had to be taken care of. The waiter returned and placed the raspberry iced tea in front of her. "Would you like to order now, or do you need a little more time?" he asked, with one of the most pleasant voices Nina had ever heard. He had an announcer's voice, she thought, not one of those voices that sounded like he had a needle stuck up his rear end, or a voice that made a person sound as if everything he says is being forced through his stomach and out his teeth. "Give me a little more time. I'm waiting on my girlfriend, who is late as usual," she informed him. He nodded his head and then moved along to greet the couple that had just sat down in front of her. Rush Street now moved at a snail's pace, nothing like it used to be back in the 80s. Rush Street at one point was a 24-hour non-stop party boulevard. It was full of bars, dance clubs, and fast food spots like the Yellow Pork Chop Wagon. Nina refused to eat pork, but the way the owner cooked his food made traffic on the strip stop. The aroma from the restaurant made many people stop in for a sandwich and a flavored soda pop. She had been told, on many occasions, that after a night of stomping your feet and sweating to the beat of R&B music, that popular combination was the best meal a person could eat. There was no doubt about it. On a Friday or Saturday night, Rush Street would be jam-packed with party maniacs on foot and in cars. It didn't really matter if you were in your car, stuck in a traffic jam, because you were right in the middle of it all. Energetic people were stacked in convertible BMWs, Corvettes, and Mustangs, dancing in the back seat of the cars. Music seemed to be blaring from every direction. Women would howl out from cars at men who had physiques that sang melodies to their womanhood. "Hey, girl!" Rose rushed up to the table, wearing an oversized Chicago Bulls t-shirt and blue jeans. She was out of breath, but beaming with excitement. "Happy birthday!" She tossed her purse on the seat and leaned toward Nina to give her a hug, and then plopped down, releasing a huge sigh. "Thank you," Nina responded dryly. Rose interpreted Nina's tone as aggravation towards her being late. "Honest, honey, I left with plenty of time to get here, but this damn freight train had 87th Street all backed up. I had to sit there for 20 minutes while the damn thing crept along." "Oh, it's not that, Rose. It's just that—" Rose interrupted her. "Girl, I know. It's a bitch when you turn 40. But you just have to look at yourself as getting better. Besides, with the way you keep yourself together, you don't look a day over 30. You look damn good for your age. Not that 40 is old or anything. Hell, look at me. People think I'm around 50. Can you believe that? 50! I'm only 43. Shit. I've got to do something about these damn dark circles and puff pockets under my eyes. And I don't want to even talk about my wide-ass hips and my huge behind. I've gained so much damn weight. I've got stretch marks everywhere. Arms, legs, stomach, and all over my ass. If I keep this shit up, I'll be bigger than Nell Carter." Nina let out a holler of a laugh at Rose's comparison. "Let's hope that you don't let yourself get that far gone. I keep telling you that if you come down and sign up for one of my classes, between my aerobics and spin cycling classes, I can take 5 years off of your look. You do realize that studies show that people who exercise on a regular basis have more energy and look and feel younger. Yeah, I know. But baby, it's been years since I've done any kind of exercise. I mean, look at me. Do I look like the kind of sister who will get up early in the morning for a quick jog? And I already know that smoking these damn cancer sticks aren't helping my situation any. If the truth were to be told, the only times my heart rate goes up is either during a sale or when Brian McKnight sings. Woo, that's one fine-ass brother there. Nina laughed so hard that the iced tea she was sipping almost ran through her nose. You are so silly, she coughed while reaching for a white napkin and the metal container on the table. No, not silly. I just like to keep it real. As the young people say, I've seen the way you work those people in your class. Remember that day that I picked you up? I stood in the back of the room and watched you work those people within an inch of cardiac arrest. Step up. Step down, kick your leg up, turn around, grapevine, run in place, toss your arms up, squat, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah, shit. If I were in your class, I'd just stand in the back of the room, look at everyone, and smoke me a cigarette. Everyone is going to die anyway. I don't see why everyone is fighting the inevitable so hard. Well, honey, that's where you and I see things differently. I'm going to fight this age thing for as long as possible. If I can prevent myself from having health problems in the long run, I'm going to do it. And that's cool, Rose spoke as the waiter placed a glass of water in front of her. Are you ladies ready to order? Asked the waiter with that soothing voice that Nina had taken a mild interest in. Yeah, sugar, Rose called him as she gave her order. I'll have scrambled eggs with cheese, hash browns, buttermilk pancakes, beef sausage, and a cup of coffee with cream and sugar. I'll have a vegetarian omelet with wheat toast and orange juice. Nina followed up with her order, then handed the menu back to the waiter. Okay, I'll put your orders in right away, he said as he headed off to the kitchen. Don't you think that he has the most soothing voice? It's deep, like James Earl Jones and Barry White's. Rose noticed a bit of gleam in Nina's eyes. Who? That young fella? I wasn't studying him that hard. Now, getting back to what I was saying. It's cool that you work out and all. That's your thing. Looking slender and slightly muscular looks good on you. I can respect all of the hard work that you put into looking fit. I'll bet as he matures, he's going to be a real lady killer. Nina concentrated on the waiter as he placed their orders on a spin wheel next to the cook in the kitchen. Rose stopped talking and turned around in her seat to look back at the young teenager, then turned her attention back to Nina. What's wrong with you, Nina? That kid isn't a day over 17 years old. Not to mention that you have a daughter that's older than he is. Speaking of babies, how is Gracie? How is the married life treating her? Rose, I'm not interested in him like that. He's just handsome. Gracie is fine, I guess. Just turned 22 and believes she knows the world. I wanted her to finish school, get a college degree, and live a decent life. There was absolutely no reason for her to settle down so soon. She shortchanged herself and doesn't even realize it. Sounds like somebody I once knew at her age. Are you two talking yet, or are you both still being stubborn with each other? She has my number. I know how Gracie works, although she believes that I don't. When she needs me, she'll call. I don't mean to get in your business, Nina, but one of you needs to give in. How long has it been since you've spoken to each other? What, 6 months now? Gracie has been on her own for almost 2 years. She's 22, and a grown woman whether you want to admit it or not. You two have got to stop giving each other the silent treatment. You never know what the next day will hold. One of you may wake up and discover that death has come during the night. I just don't understand how you can't see she's exactly like you were at her age. I was a mother at her age, Rose, and she isn't. Nina's tone became sharp. I made stupid mistakes, but I accepted my responsibilities. Married with a baby by the time I was 20. I thought I knew everything, and I didn't know jack. I had to learn everything as I went along. I didn't know a damn thing about caring for a baby, a marriage, a husband, or a mortgage. Granted, Jay said I didn't have to worry about anything, and he would take care of what needed to be done. He said it as if I was some type of burden to him. In my heart, I knew that neither one of us was ready to settle down. We were just doing the right thing. Nina let out a deep sigh. Jay was 9 years older than me, smart, handsome, and had a good job. I remember everyone telling me I was so lucky to have a man like him. It was as if friends, family, and people in general thought I was trying to trap him because he was fresh out of law school and working at a small law firm. But it was nothing like that. I was just incredibly naive. As sad as it sounds, I didn't think I could get pregnant my first time. In some respects, I guess folks were right. Financially, I never worried about a thing. Whenever I needed anything, he just gave me the money for it. However, Jay can be a very mean man when he wants to. During the time I was pregnant, he'd say crap like, "You'd better have a boy because girls are nothing but trouble." Or even worse, when he got me around his friends, he'd insult me by saying that I was the most unattractive pregnant woman he'd ever seen. My skin broke out so badly during the time I was pregnant, and when Jay would embarrass me like that, it would hurt my feelings. If the truth were to be told, that's one of the reasons why I made damn sure I didn't become pregnant by his ass again. Nina stopped to think for a moment. I don't know, Rose. I just see so much of myself in Gracie. I see her making the same wrong choices I made. I don't want her to go through the same difficulties I did. I know that over the years you and Jay have had your share of ups and downs. We all have our difficulties in our lives that change who we are, but you push through them, you grow, and you learn. However, I still say you should be happy for Gracie. She's young and in love with a man who loves her. He's made a good career in the military, and he's taking care of her. Yeah, that's what scares me. He's exactly 9 years older than her, and I don't believe she fully understands all of the responsibilities of marriage. Sometimes a person can take advantage of you when they know they've got you just where they want you, just like I was at the time. She isn't working because he doesn't want her to. He claims he wants to have a large family. I say he's loading her up so she could be barefoot and pregnant and tied down with children while he has his woman on the side and his wife at home. After all of my hard work with Gracie, she's going to end up being a career housewife, dependent upon some man for her livelihood. Maybe it'll be different for her. Rose was trying to be understanding of how Nina felt. You can only teach your children so much. Then you have to let them walk and make their own path in life. I know, Rose. Nina gazed out the window at the light foot traffic moving along Rush Street. She began to reminisce again. Girl, do you remember what Rush Street was like back in the 80s? All of the bars and the clubs that used to be around here? How you could walk down the street and hear Curtis Blow singing from every direction. You remember. Clap your hands, everybody, if you got what it takes. 'Cause I'm Curtis Blow, and I want you to know that these are the breaks. There was so much life on this street. Do you remember how I would have to make up stories about you being sick or about having problems with your boyfriend in order to get out of the house without Gracie? Nina chuckled to herself. Girl, you and I would sneak down here and have ourselves a good old time. Remember how we'd stand in a long line in order to get into Gino's East Pizzeria? And then, when we went into the place, people had written and carved their names on the walls and on the tables. Rose smiled, recalling the rare times that Nina was speaking of. Now I understand what this is all about. You're going through one of those midlife things. Excuse me? Nina was all set to get insulted. It's perfectly normal, Rose smiled, and then folded her arms in front of her, and then rested them on the table. Nina realized by Rose's body language that she wasn't trying to be insulting, just understanding. I don't know, girl. Maybe I am. I don't feel 40. I feel like I'm completely free to do all of the things I never had a chance to. I never had a chance to party all night long or go club hopping with friends. I used to love dancing, But Jay had a fit every time I would bring it up, so I just let it go. I never had a chance to have my own apartment with a view of Lake Michigan. I moved out of my parents' house and directly into his. Nothing in his apartment at the time expressed who I was. He had album covers and Superfly posters all over the walls and beanbags for furniture. I never got a chance to date or meet different people. Jay and I came down here once and we got into an argument because he felt that I should have been at home acting like a respectable mother other than wanting to act like some floozy. I got so pissed off with his ass. He could go out on Friday night with the boys but couldn't take me out dancing. Well, things are different. For the first time in my life, I don't have any responsibilities. I have my own money and my own car. Do you understand what I'm saying? Rose placed her elbows on the table and placed her hands in the praying position. Of course I do. Look at me. I'm 43 years old with no kids, never been married, and still club hopping. Well, not like I used to, but I still get out there and do my stepping thing. I'm dying to learn how to step. When are you going to teach me? Heifer, I keep telling your ass to come on down Thursday night when I have my stepper set. All you have to do is learn the basic 6 count, and you'll be dancing before you know it. Excuse me, ladies. The plates are very hot. The young waiter placed their orders in front of them and then asked if he could get them anything else. Both of them rushed him off, not needing his services at that particular moment. I know, Rose, and believe me, one of these days I'm going to shock you and show up out of the blue. Nina paused for a moment, in search of the right words. Rose, it's difficult for me to express what I'm looking for. All I know is I'm looking for something different, but I don't know what. I'm tired of being bored all the time. Baby, I know exactly what you're looking for. Rose began pouring maple syrup onto her pancakes. You want what our young waiter has, Rose said convincingly. Rose, I'm not desperate. Nina couldn't believe what Rose was saying. I know that, but hear me out. From my point of view, the reason you're looking at the waiter so hard is because of his youth and all of the possibilities he has. Have you ever heard the saying, youth is wasted on the young and wisdom is wasted on the old? Yeah, I recall something like that. What you want is the youth of that young man, along with the wisdom that comes with turning 40. Nina was all set to dispute Rose's claim, but suddenly she lost her words. Well, don't go get quiet on me now, Rose continued. I'm not judging you. I have never done that, and I never will. And believe me, by no means are you the first person to feel like that. I know, Rose. It's just that the common sense part of me says leave the past alone. You've missed out. Now move along, age, get old, and die. Then there's another part of me screaming out with joy that I've just reached a point of freedom again. It's like I have a second opportunity, and I don't want to let this one slip away. Well, excuse me for being so frank, honey, but you do realize you're a married woman. You're speaking as if you're single, or about to be. Does Jay understand how you've been feeling? Nina had been holding back from Rose how her feelings toward Jay were changing. Their relationship had been reduced to routine and habit. Jay had become a couch potato and let his once muscular body go flabby. He refused to control his eating habits, and the gut he developed was too ridiculous for words. Nina felt like the odd couple whenever they were together. Odd, because he looked like he was 9 months pregnant, and she looked like she was about to go run a marathon. Nina had spoken to Jay about his appearance and harmful eating habits, which pissed him off. Everyone isn't like you, he growled at her. When I was young, there was 12 of us, and there was never enough of anything, including food. Now, I don't have that problem anymore, so I'm going to eat as much as I want. I enjoy eating. I love going to restaurants and trying different foods. And you should be happy that you have a man who likes to take you out and treats you as well as I do. Nina released a huge sigh when she thought about that conversation. It was one of those times in her marriage when she tried to express how she felt about something, but by the time all was said and done, she was sorry she even brought up the subject. However, there was still that undeniable feeling from somewhere deep inside that was screaming at her to break free and enjoy life to the fullest. It's difficult for Jay to understand how I feel about things. When I tell him that I'm bored, he really takes it personally. I want to do something other than going out to a movie and then to dinner to watch him stuff himself until he can't eat anymore, and then head home for him to climb his big ass on top of me for a quick screw, and I do mean quick. Nina snapped her fingers to emphasize how quick Jay was. We've had some good years and some much better days. I can't deny that, but they seem so long ago. I mean, honestly, Rose, how do I tell my husband of 20 years that suddenly he's a total bore? How do I tell him that he doesn't turn me on or satisfy me? How do I tell him that he's become self-centered and selfish without getting into a major dispute? The long hours he's working has also been getting on my nerves. He's so absorbed in his job that he can't see or refuses to see that there is no time for us. Nina, this doesn't sound like something you've just discovered. No, Rose, it isn't. I guess over the years I had the job of taking care of Gracie to take my mind off of things that were quietly gnawing away at me. Then, as she became a teenager and didn't want to be bothered with me, I occupied my time by going back to school. Oh, yes, Rose uttered. I remember how much he didn't like that idea. Could you believe that, girl? All those years I was just a housewife. I would sit at home and cry my eyes out because I was so bored, scared, and lonely. I was an emotional wreck, Nina recalled as she sipped her iced tea. Then, the minute I wanted to expand my horizons, he tells me that I didn't need a college degree because he would always take care of me, and that there was no need for me to work because he made enough money. That crazy-ass man had me feeling like I still lived at home, and every time I wanted money for something, I had to ask him for it, just like I was a little girl asking my father for money. It's a damn good thing that I held my ground on that one. Rose began laughing. Remember how he called me and told me to stop putting ideas in your head, that he didn't need a college-educated wife, and how you were happy with the way things were? How could I forget? He blamed you and Oprah for screwing up his entire life. Jay was raised on that old Southern way of thinking. A woman's place was in the house, taking care of his kids, and screwing him whenever he needed to be satisfied. I don't see how women back then did it. And believe me when I say that he was not happy about me going to night school. That man did not want me to finish. It took some doing, but I finally got that degree, and when I did, it was the wildest rush I'd ever experienced. You never told me why he didn't want you to finish. He was listening to his friends tell him how he shouldn't let a woman get more education than he had. With education, I'd get a better job, make more money, take business trips, and have affairs with men who were just as educated. Funny, it should not have surprised me about the way he felt. His father was the same way with his mother. Remember that time you wanted to learn how to drive, and he refused to teach you? So you took his keys and taught yourself? Rose was reviewing how much her friend had grown over the years. Oh, God, yes. He'll never let me live that one down. He came home late on Friday night, drunk, from a night out with the boys, and fell asleep on the sofa. I got up the following Saturday morning, like I always did, and I fixed his breakfast. Gracie and I ate while he slept. I don't know what got into me. Something just told me to take his keys and go learn how to drive. I told myself I'd seen him drive enough, and it didn't look that hard. Girl, that man had a damn holy fit when he discovered that you not only took his car, but you left it in the middle of the street with the keys locked inside it when it stopped. I'd only made it 5 blocks away from the house. Damn raggedy-ass car. Fucking fuel pump on it went out. After that, his evil ass blamed me for everything that went wrong with the car. But I discovered that driving wasn't as hard as he made it out to be. Rose smiled at Nina. Jay kept telling me that it was a man's job to drive a woman wherever she wanted to go. I realized now that was his way of keeping up with me. He always knew exactly where I was. I think about how I accepted that mess back then, and I just want to shake my head. He had total control over me. Well, don't be so hard on yourself, Nina. Those were different times. Your thinking isn't what it is today. I understand that, Rose. I really do. It's just that I feel like there are so many things I want to do and experience, but I don't know where to begin. I'm a 40-year-old accountant with no kids, a fat bank account, a kick-ass ride, and a shitload of free time. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm my own person. I can do whatever I want and not be afraid. When I look at that young waiter, I see and understand what he may not yet. The possibilities that life has. Boy, life is so strange. Rose pondered over her thoughts. Here I am, a 43-year-old nurse with no kids, a house, and a nice car. And all I want is to find a decent man to share the rest of my days with. But the only type of men I keep running into are jerks, drug addicts, leeches, mama boys, and ex-convicts. And here you are, my best friend. You have everything I could ever want, and you're telling me it's not all that it's cracked up to be. What's that phrase about how individuals think the grass is greener on the other side? I'm not saying that Jay is a horrible man. I'm just starting to grow, and I feel that I'm outgrowing him, and I don't know what to do about it. I'm no longer that frightened little girl that he has to take care of, but he can't see it. It sounds to me like you two need a vacation. Something to set off a new spark in your relationship. You could be right, Nina replied, thinking of places she'd like to go. I would love to go to the Bahamas because Jay and I have never been there. You know his favorite vacation spot is going back to visit relatives in Arkansas. Girl, do you realize that in all of these years, that is the only place we've gone for vacation? See? Now is the perfect time for you two to do it, Rose said, trying not to chew her food and talk at the same time. Girl, that's just a fantasy. You know just as well as I do that if he hasn't thought about taking me there in all of these years, chances are he never wanted to go. Well, it's your call, Nina. It could be just the thing. Yes, it could be, but I just don't see it happening. Once you've been with a person for as long as we have, you really know them from balls to bone.